Hi folks, and welcome back to another Philosophy Club. Okay, so last week we talked about the logic of reasons and arguments through deduction and induction. Now, you don't need to have seen last week's video for this week's video to make sense, but it might be useful to you at some point in the future. So, if logic is the study of reasoning and arguments, then it might be good to look at some mistakes that people make when they do those things. And to help us with that today, we're going to look at 9 common fallacies. A fallacy is a mistake in reasoning that makes a person's argument invalid. So remember these things the next time you go head-to-head with a sibling, teacher, or parent, but just don't tell them you heard them from me, okay? Who knows, you might even come out on top. Okay, so here we go. 9 common fallacies. 1. Straw man. When someone makes this mistake, it usually means that they have misrepresented an argument in such a way as to make it seem ridiculous and as if no one in their right mind would believe it. That they could easily knock it down as if it was a man made of straw. So if someone makes your argument seem ridiculous and overblown, they're probably straw-manning you. 2. Ad hominem. Okay, so ad hominem is when someone attacks you rather than your argument. Generally, this happens when arguments turn a little mean. It's always good to focus on the argument and not the person who's saying it. Ad hominem is like when a football player doesn't even bother to go for the ball. They just do it like a really bad tackle on the player. Looking at you, Zinedine. 3. Fallacy of composition. When a person mistakes qualities that apply to a part of a whole to the entire whole. Sort of like when someone says that a team is the greatest team in the world because they have this one certain player. And then you realize that the team is Argentina and the player is Messi. And yeah, sure, he might have been the greatest player in the world at one point, but Argentina were never the greatest team in the world when he was playing for them. 4. Fallacy of division. So this is the opposite of the fallacy of composition, and it occurs when someone says that because the whole has a certain attribute or quality, it must mean that the parts of that whole must also have that same attribute or quality. So just because Liverpool won the league this year doesn't mean that every player on the team is amazing. And, I work with a lot of Liverpool fans, so I can't really say more than this, but you get the picture. 5. Appeal to authority. So this is when someone says, you have to agree with me that Shrek the Third is the best Shrek. John Smith said so. Who is John Smith? Why would I believe him? Is he a film critic in his spare time? Appealing to authority is useful only when the two parties agree that the authority in question is actually an authority. 6. Appeal to popularity. So this is a classic one, and one that parents are super quick to spot, so be careful. It can go like, why are you making TikToks when you should have been doing your homework? I don't know if kids do TikToks when they make their homework. Everyone else was making them, so this everyone else was doing it excuse is appealing to popularity, and you know what your parents are going to say as soon as you say this. And it's the classic line, oh, so if everyone was jumping off a cliff, you would too? And there's really no coming back from that, so, be careful. 7. Begging the question. So this is when someone assumes that what they're trying to prove is already true. Like, for example, Ian is the greatest philosopher ever. It says so in the script for this video, which Ian wrote. So this assumes that in the first premise, what it wants to prove is true. Luckily for us in this scenario, it is true, but, watch out for it in the future. 8. Equivocation. Okay, so equivocation is when someone uses a word in 2 different ways but pretends they mean the same thing, or when they purposefully use ambiguous language. So, for example, Odysseus and the Cyclops. So, when the Cyclops asks Odysseus his name, Odysseus replies that his name is no man. So that when he pokes a Cyclops in the eye and the other Cyclopes ask the poked Cyclops who did it to him, the poked Cyclops replies, no man poked him in the eye. And the other Cyclops go home laughing because what a fool. So here we see no man has 2 meanings and misleads the Cyclops. Okay, and our last one for today is false dichotomy. False dichotomy happens when someone presents you with a choice and says that there's no alternative. There might be several alternatives. The options might exist on a spectrum of choices. You might have 1,000 choices. And a classic example is when someone says you're either with us or against us. No, there might be, a different way. Explore your options, There's a whole world out there for you. Okay, so that's a quick run through of some of the more common fallacies that people make in arguments. There's so many more out there, but hey, we've all got places to be and other work to be doing, so hopefully the line will keep you ticking until then. But remember also that everyone makes mistakes and blunders from time to time. Mistakes are a part of life and help us learn, so go easy on someone if they do make these mistakes. We're all trying here. Okay, so that's it for this week. Hopefully we'll have something fun next week. In the meantime, take care.